Hey guys, spiral review number 4 here, and we are going to get started with story time because we always need to know how we can apply the things we learn. So it's important to be able to do story problems because when you guys ask, how am I ever going to use this in real life? This is the kind of stuff that you're using it for. So the first one here says the high temperature for a day in January was 7 degrees Fahrenheit. The low temperature that day was -5 degrees Fahrenheit. What's the difference in the temperatures? So you might see that there were differences implying that you were subtracting. So take one, subtract the other. But the distance between two numbers is never it's never negative. Distance isn't going to be a negative unless you get into like very involved science theory and things like that. So just think of it in terms of we're at 7 degrees, not very warm at all, right? Going down to -5 degrees. Even just imagine a number line, 7 degrees to -5 degrees. So 7 minus -5, if I do keep, change, okay, if that's another way of thinking of it, we've got a difference of 12 degrees Fahrenheit. 12 degrees Fahrenheit is going to be the answer to that problem. Okay, so it didn't take too long, but you have to make sense of what you're being asked first. The next one that you're going to have to do without me is your project requires a board that has a length of 5 3/16 inches. You found a board that has a length of 9 1/8 inches. How much of the board needs to be cut off to use for your project? So think about what you're starting with and what you need and cut off the leftovers. If you're ever confused, come up with a simple example. If I had a 10-foot board and I had, let's see here, six feet that I needed, well, then I'm going to cut off 4. So 10 minus 6 would give me that 4. And of course, the lights have already gone out. Let's try to get them on. I'm clapping. I don't know why I'm clapping. They love to be delayed just enough to make me look like a crazy lady in my classroom. All right, so then on the next section of our spiral review number 4 is expressions. Now remember, expressions are just going to be things that we simplify, and they're not going to have an equal sign. We're not solving for m, we're simplifying in this case because they've given us what m equals. They say evaluate the expressions when m equals -5. So you have to be extra careful when you have those negative signs because you might have 2 negative signs. So for example, on this first one, 5 minus m is not 5 minus 5, right? M is -5. So don't forget that negative sign. So we are saying 5 minus -5. Well, if you keep, change, okay, keep the sign, change to addition, change that sign. That's simply 10. You'll simplify to 10, okay? On this one, m, again, is -5. If you want to put it in parentheses, kind of hug it so it doesn't look like another subtraction sign so close, you can do that. -5 minus -2, okay? If I keep, change, keep, change, I've got a -5 and a +2 playing tug of war. -5 wins by 3, and so it will be a -3. Okay, so just make sure you plug in for m, -5, -5, take that sign with it, and then don't forget the other signs that are already in that expression. Simplify it as much as you can. You should just get a whole number. All right, for this next section here, this is the next and the last section, we have to be able to simplify with these fractions. Fractions, they always scare you guys. You shouldn't be so scared though, okay? That's why we're practicing them. And remember, I pull these kinds of problems from state standardized tests so that when you guys get to that point, when you have to do them, you're like, old news, easy stuff. I got this, Mrs. Landers, okay? So on all of these, it's involving multiplication or division with fractions. So on this first one, -5/4 times -1/25, just hold the thought on the negatives. Don't let that throw you off. Just remember, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So you don't have to let that play into the confusion. Just remember, oh, it's going to be a positive answer. And really, you can just kind of not worry about those signs. You know that your answer is going to be positive. It might seem silly, but you might want to put a plus sign down there just to remind yourself. And then you have to simply multiply your numerators and denominators. But as always, if we can simplify, we should simplify first. So 5 and 25, you can cross reduce. You can reduce up and down, numerator, denominator, or you can reduce cross reduce as well. So I see that 5 and 25 are both divisible by 5. So 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 25 5 times. I usually say that out loud, and I say the number, it goes into this that many times, it goes into this one that many times, because it helps me keep track. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 5 is 20. So positive 1/20th is going to be the answer for that one. This next one's a little bit different. Don't be thrown off by it. It's negative 1/3 to the third power, which means we multiply it by itself 3 times, not times 3. It's different. Think about your age. If you multiply your age by itself 3 times, or if you multiply your age by 3, 2 different answers, right? So negative 1/3 times negative 1/3 times negative 1/3. Okay, it's going to be a negative times a negative times a negative. 2 of those guys are going to buddy up and cancel out, and this little guy is going to be left over. So we're going to have a negative answer. Okay, I can't see any way to simplify, so I'm going to do 1 times 1 times 1, all my numerators, and then 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Okay, so negative 1/27 is going to be that one. The next one, 1/12 divided by 2/3. We never divide with fractions. We always multiply by the reciprocal. So 1/12 stays the same, multiplying by the reciprocal. Keep, switch, flip. Sorry, keep, change, change, keep, switch, flip. I know it's a lot to keep track of. Just do your best. So I see a way to simplify here. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Okay, that's the only thing I can simplify. So multiply those numerators. Your 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 2 is 8. Last one that I'm going to do with you, and notice the ones that I'm modeling are just like the ones beneath them. So pay attention carefully. I see ways that I can reduce this one. I know that 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 15 3 times. I know that 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 4 twice. I don't see any other way that I can simplify, but that's just to remind you, you can go from any numerator to any denominator, whether it's straight up and down or it's across. Find ways to simplify, because if you don't simplify now, you're gonna have this big unfamiliar number that you're looking to simplify later, and you're like, oh, I don't know what it's divisible by. Is it divisible by 6? You know, and so it might be harder to see those relationships. So we're just kind of breaking it apart earlier and then multiplying. And sometimes after you do that, you still have to keep simplifying. So always look. 2 times 1 times 7 is 14. 2 times 1 is 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 1 times 3 is 9. So you can go ahead and make that into a mixed number if you want to. 9 goes into 14 one whole time with 5 left over. Let me check my math. 2 times 1 times 7 is 14. 3 times 1 times 3 is 9. Yep, it threw me off there, guys, that it was an improper fraction with the numerator being higher than the denominator. Okay, so that may happen. You might get an improper fraction that you would have to change into a mixed number. Sometimes they're okay with you guys having the mixed number or the improper fraction. And that is it. Good luck. Let me know if you have questions. See you guys.